Middle of nowhere, rural Kansas, the site of an abandoned nuclear missile silo. Armed security patrol the entrance to a doomsday bunker that's reserved for the wealthy elite, and sales are booming.
Since the election of Donald Trump, we've seen a whole new demographic of people calling in, people that didn't know we existed before.
Larry Hall is the owner of the Survival Condo Project. These 16,000-pound doors lock you inside. We're heading deep below the surface of the earth into an underground bunker like no other.
We are in a typical full-floor residential unit, and even though we are more than 100 feet underground right now, you can see that it's certainly not a claustrophobic area.
12 luxurious condos exist here with fireplaces, high-end appliances, jacuzzis, even windows. Yes, windows. High-definition TVs broadcast a live feed of the outside world right into your living room. The price tag for this 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo, $2.3 million.
Well, as the sign says, welcome to the beach.
And look at this. It's a swimming pool with a slide and waterfall. Other common areas include a movie theater, rock climbing wall, and shooting range. There's even a farm that grows all the fresh fruits and vegetables you'll need.
This can grow up to 70 different species of plants, lettuces, tomatoes, carrots.
The bunker runs on power sources like wind and diesel generators.
We have enough fuel to run these diesels for 2.5 years.
Plenty of time to ride out worldwide chaos should it ever erupt.
Let's head deep underground now for another up-close look at how some of the richest people in America are coping with their deepest fears about the end of the world. Whether it's a nuclear meltdown or World War III, if you've got the cash, you can ride out the apocalypse in serious luxury. ABC's David Wright got invited for one very strange sleepover.
Is not so far off from the movies. So we have just landed in Wichita, Kansas. We're headed to a place where they take doomsday very seriously. Part of the secret to surviving the apocalypse is being completely off the grid. In the middle of nowhere, checkpoint here. Yep, we have arrived.
Hi, how are you? I hope we're in the right place. We're with Nightline?
The guard post bristling with guns, but inside, a warm welcome.
Yeah, welcome to Raven Ridge of Kansas.
Ravens Ridge of Kansas, Site 11, a former Atlas intercontinental ballistic missile silo.
Each half of this door weighs 16,000 pounds.
Wow. A structure the U.S. government built with doomsday in mind.
So JFK was here?
And which Larry Hall repurposed, imagining a different doomsday. It's a luxury condo complex deep underground.
We could go to the bottom of this thing in 29 seconds.
15 stories down.
Security and sick bay.
Let's come in this way and get you settled in your rooms.
We're here for a sleepover.
Come on in here. This will be your digs for a night.
Your average bed and breakfast is not this heavily fortified.
All of the exterior walls are 9 feet thick.
The structure is now a luxury condo tower. The condo's going for $1 to $5 million a pop.
I want to show you the pool.
Okay. I didn't bring my swimsuit.
Well, you can skinny dip.
It's 85 degrees in the pool area.
You can feel the humidity.
And it's so humid, it fogs up our camera lens. The concrete walls painted with beach scenes. There's even a waterfall.
Feels like we're not in Kansas anymore.
I like that.
Larry's survival condos are the high end of a booming business. More than 3 million Americans are thought to be committed preppers, most stockpiling supplies in more modest settings.
So you keep this packed at all times?
All times.
Disaster preparedness is now estimated to be a $500 million a year industry.
Ask yourself, are you prepared?
There are companies that cater to the apocalypse.
Introducing Wise Company Gourmet Emergency Food.
Survivalism for the Martha Stewart set.
Bon appetit.
But tonight at Raven Ridge, it's even better than that.
Quick start.
After dinner, it's down to the theater for a movie.
This really is kind of the ultimate man cave.
It really is, and especially because there's a bar right next door.
More than 400 to choose from. We go with The Book of Eli, in keeping with the theme.
This place across the street, they got any water?
I feel like I could sleep through a nuclear bomb. Good night. My alarm clock says it's 6:45 in the morning. So it should be light outside or getting light soon. But you'd never know it in here.
Plenty of water and decent pressure to start the day off with a nice hot shower.
I'm not gonna run out of shampoo in here. Industrial-sized dial, built for a man.
Contractor Mark Minoski, who helped build this place, has been living here on and off more than a year.
It's almost like you're living on another planet in here.
It could be, or on a spaceship that's traveling to some far, far galaxy.
The condos themselves have personal touches. For one family, hers and his bunk beds for the kids. In another, the gas fireplace features stones imported from the owner's hometown. All of them have virtual windows, flat screen TVs so that you don't feel like you're underground.
You can choose your own view.
And all of them have those high-tech Japanese toilet seats.
To have enough toilet paper for 75 people would take an entire floor to store toilet paper.
So this isn't just a luxury, this
That's
is
a
a necessity.
That's a necessity.
There's even a place for your dog to do his business. The survival condos, pet-friendly.
So you can take your pet with you.
Dogs or cats, our psychologist strongly advised that that was a very stabilizing thing to have.
There's a schoolroom where the kids can continue their studies even when it's not safe to go outside.
So who's the teacher?
You, me, the other owners.
That's part of the deal with the condo association. During a lockdown, everyone would work a 4-hour shift, if not in the classroom, and maybe in the store or the greenhouse where they'll farm fish and organic vegetables.
We're going to have lettuce, we're going to have celeries, carrots, onions, there's blueberries, strawberries, kale.
The thing you have to keep reminding yourself is why this place is here and why it's bristling with security measures, including air filters to neutralize a nuclear, biological, or chemical attack, and an extensive armory with plenty of guns.
So you're saying this place is Fort Knox?
This place is Fort Knox.
Outside, that's crystal clear. This place is a fortress. Oh, and if you're wondering how will the elevators and the air filters work when doomsday knocks out the power grid, they've thought of it. Even at $1 to $5 million a pop, the condos are completely sold out. Larry took us to another silo where he's just getting started.
This is a definite fixer-upper.
Deep underground, you get a sense what it was like the last time Americans felt in imminent danger.
This is like the wreck of the Titanic. It was sealed.
And when was this last operation?
1967.
Standing here, you can imagine the buzz of the fluorescent lights as guys in crew cuts with missile keys waited for the launch order. A short, treacherous walk down the connecting tube is a much larger tube.
So over there is where the launch controllers would sit with their keys and the codes waiting for the order. This is the missile silo, and it is a deep, deep hole. Listen to the echo. Hello? It's a long way down.
A place built with the apocalypse in mind. Today, the threat may be different, but the fear remains. The good news is, for some, the accommodations will be a lot more plush. I'm David Wright for Nightline at Ravens Ridge, Kansas.
What's up, guys? We always talk about like conspiracy theories and stuff like that, but don't usually have any facts to back it up. But I saw this episode back in the middle of December, and it really made my mouth drop to let me know that something is going down. And I wanted to make this video back in the middle of December, but my wife got severe food poisoning, then got H1N1 flu, and then got respiratory infection, and it just threw me all off. But now I'm back on track. But this right here, this is supposed to be a single-family dwelling residence. This house is 72,000 feet, and it's being built in the middle of nowhere in the Ozarks. And like I said, this is supposed to be a single-family dwelling house. And basically, what this is, this house is tornado-proof and nuclear bomb-proof. And it has like 3 feet thick walls, bulletproof glass, everything. Guys, this is the new White House that they're building. This is actually a government facility that they're trying to keep quiet. And you can't even go to this house. It has armed guards. You can't even get up in here unless you're invited or whatever. But they're building this in the Ozarks right now. It's the biggest house in America. I think the second biggest one is Aaron Spelling's. Even the White House is only 55,000 square feet. This thing is 72,000 square feet. But when I saw Jesse Ventura's episode, whether you saw it or not, I'll put the link in the box to the whole episode. But this right here just made my mouth drop. And then the underground bunker cities. So you just witnessed the single family dwelling house. Yeah, it's a single family, alright. But this right here, this was crazy. They actually went to the underground base. This place was so big that trains can go through it, and you can see a semi drive by them. This place is massive. And if you don't think something is going down, I don't know what to tell you, but what is the purpose of building an underground city? I mean, this is underground, and it goes for miles and miles and miles. And the true question is, what is really coming, and what are they planning?
Yeah. Goes all the way to Washington, D.C., huh? Goes all the way to Washington, D.C. Yeah, you Homeland Security? Yeah. How far have you taken this down to, how far have you actually ran a load?
Out of here.
100 miles? Up to Maine? No shit. How many miles do you think that is? Man, that's unbelievable. Not to mention, I heard there's one that goes all the way to Colorado, right? Unbelievable. What do you think you're hauling? Any idea?
Crap.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Crap makes all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
You don't really know.
Yeah. I know there's been a lot of military stuff being hauled around lately, that's for sure, huh?
Yeah, but not in here. We deliver to military.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. 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 Well, I appreciate. I heard there's water supply, food supply, everything's in there.
Huh?
Yeah, unbelievable.
But you don't get no cell phone for service.
No. Peace, brother. I mean, basically, you got an underground roadway system here that runs all the way to Maine, to Washington, D.C., to Colorado. It's fully stocked. It runs completely underground. And you can see they've been hauling tons of military equipment. You know, they're stocking all these bases. Now, the other thing is the railroad system here is also very strategic. They're bringing in boxcar loads and they're dump shipping here, and they can really deliver to all these locations, which these locations go all the way to Area 51. These locations go all the way to Washington, D.C. There's access underneath the White House to this location, okay? So this is a strategic location, which is really the new command center for the Illuminati and the United States government. Well, forget the United States government. This is a headquarters for the Illuminati. This is where they'll ship most of their supplies. When they go underground, they can stay underground for quite some time. And this is stocked with food, water, everything they need. It's an underground city. So this is the north entrance, and we're going to go see if we can do some more digging.
Well, it would seem some very strange happenings are going on. First, I remind you to go back in history and remember Donald Rumsfeld's comment the day before the attack of 9/11, where he said that the Pentagon had lost $2.3 trillion. And then just fortunately, then the Pentagon was destroyed the next day on 9/11, 2001. Well, I believe a lot of that money went to go to spending for certain operations for the CIA, FEMA, Homeland Security, and a lot of that was building underground military complex. Fast forward to August of this year, if you remember that DC that happened, Virginia, Washington DC, and also in Colorado, there's evidence pointing to that not being an earthquake as much as it was probably a nuclear explosion done by the good guys, the Black Ops military, who found out about the evil plans of the globalists that were planning on killing off a huge percentage of the population and going and running and hiding in the military underground complex. So what they've done is cut off some escape routes during that time. And the reason I say it was probably nuclear as opposed to an earthquake is the seismograph showed that there were no primary waves associated with these two explosions. And they were very shallow. And also in an area that doesn't receive many earthquakes. Now, the latest report that I'm getting is long about September 20th, 21st, 22nd of this year, there were at least 13 very powerful underground explosions rocking the United States Midwest, and they registered as small shallow earthquakes with the USGS. Many of the underground high explosive detonations registered as 2.6 magnitude earthquakes. So what they're saying is the U.S. military is sealing off the tunnels so that the globalists and the U.S. ghost government, i.e. the Federal Reserve bankers, FEMA, the DHS, CIA, they can't run and hide from what they're predicting to occur here long about September 27th, give or take a day or two of this year, here just real soon. Officers in the U.S. military didn't seem to be aware of Obama and the globalist plan converging on Denver for a DEFCON 1 meeting, meaning nuclear war imminent, a cocked pistol drill. Email was sent to the U.S. Air Force Office of Special Investigations on September 21st of 2011 to alert them to a planned false flag nuclear detonation on U.S. soil somewhere in the American Midwest. The U.S. Air Force Office of Special Investigations were the ones who raided the Citadel gun and safe store in Las Vegas on August 21st to recover stolen nuclear warhead detonators. They were the ones who intercepted the transfer of improvised nuclear warheads by the CIA in the tunnels that connected the deep underground military bases on August 23, 2011. The impoverished nuclear bombs, the W-54 style warheads, they were being transferred via those tunnels to Washington, D.C. and New York City when they detonated during a firefight between U.S. military personnel and the criminal CIA, DHS, FEMA operatives. It would appear that the U.S. military had a deadline to meet and has already damaged, destroyed, or sealed at least 13 underground tunnels or bases, and perhaps their incentive was the fact that Obama, his shadow government, and the globalists had made plans to save their own hides while leaving the rest of us to fend for ourselves. Perhaps they investigated and confirmed that another false flag nuclear detonation was imminent and acted accordingly to prevent it.
The following video details the contents of a Department of Defense document entitled Internment and Resettlement Operations, also known as FM 3-39.40. The document is 325 pages long and it is signed by Joyce E. Morrow, Administrative Assistant to the Secretary of the Army. It was created in 2010, however, has just been recently leaked to the public via the internet and can now be downloaded from multiple sources. In the description below, you'll find a download link for the document. I strongly encourage you to download it yourself and to verify everything that's being said here. The document outlines military procedures for internment and resettlement of civilians, and it describes the layout and the administration of these internment camps. It clearly states on page 38 that it applies within U.S. territory, and it specifically addresses the detainment of U.S. citizens, as is indicated by the identification procedures for new prisoners on page 146, which states that social security numbers are to be recorded alongside their photograph and fingerprints. Included in the list of organizations which may be involved in these internment operations are the Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, the Department of Defense, and the United Nations. On page 56, the document outlines the responsibilities of psychological operations officers within the camps, among which it states that a PSYOP officer develops and executes indoctrination programs to reduce or remove antagonistic attitudes and identifies political activists. On page 281, the document goes into more detail regarding the role of psychological operations within the camps, specifically in regards to pacifying the population and ensuring cooperation. On page 238, it gives the conditions for the use of deadly force in such camps. Among the justifications for lethal force, it includes to terminate an active escape attempt. That point right there should make it clear that these camps are not benevolent disaster relief type facilities. On page 244, the document calls for the use of snipers during riots to, quote, scan a crowd and identify agitators and riot leaders for apprehension and fire lethal rounds if warranted. On page 260, it shows the basic layout for a facility focusing on detainment. It is depicted with interrogation areas, tribunal areas, and mortuaries. Each detainment facility is designed to hold 4,000 prisoners, and they are depicted with multiple levels of barbed wire separating compartments within the facilities, with a double barbed wire fence enclosing them, and watched over by 24 guard towers. On page 261, the document depicts the layout for what they call civilian resettlement facilities, which are designed to house 8,000 people. Though it uses the word resettlement, the plans show multiple levels of barbed wire dividing the sections of the facility, with double barbed wire fencing on the outside, as well as 16 guard towers. On page 262, the layout for facilities designed for what they call non-compliant prisoners is shown. These camps are designed to hold up to 300 prisoners, they have 3 interrogation centers, and are guarded by 13 guard towers. Now, if there's any question whether these plans are active or just theoretical, this should be settled by the fact that the U.S. Army has been running ads for job positions in these camps since 2009, and apparently, they're still hiring. Once again, if you look in the description, you'll find all the links you need to verify.
No, it's just something that's on the inside of. No, it's just something. It's whatever's on the inside is blocking the light. I'll have to get that cleaned up. He goes way back in there.
Yeah. Like I say, you could put a whole community in this damn place.
Yep.
Housing and all.
Not too long ago, I talked with Dale Bohannon, whom I've known since, I guess, the mid-1980s. And he told me something very interesting that he found back in the fall of 2000 while he was on a business trip. Listen to this, folks.
I was pulled to the side road, which was a new cut gravel dirt road in front of a business, a builder supply business, actually Top Notch Builder Supply in Madison, Georgia. To my right, this was previously was a soybean field, and this little new cut road divided this field, and the right side of the road was filled with which I thought was portable toilets. So I never looked at them that close. Same in color, maybe black, but which was an odd color. And I was sitting there going over my notes, and a van pulled alongside of me that turned out to be the property owner. And he greeted me, and he was by himself, and so we had a good little dialogue there, and I asked him about the field of black boxes. What were they? Because I'd never seen anything like that. And his statement was that if he told me, I would be one of few people in Madison, Georgia that knew about them. And he says they're they're disposable coffins, I believe he told me. And he says there's 100, at that time, he said there was 125,000 there. And they were stacked, he told me, 15 high. I asked him who owned them, and he stated that the CDC owned them and that they were leasing his land for storage. And he said his brother worked with the CDC in Atlanta and had been asked by the CDC to do a 3-year extension to place temporary morgues all across the nation.
Through. I've got to go all the way through and go left and drop the trailer in this big old pit. So as soon as I go through it, I take a left.
Follow that truck then.
Pretty much. Yeah, they have trains come down in here.
Where's our empties?
Same place as where I'm dropping this up, but we gotta go all the way down the other end.
Oh, now this is weird. You've done some work. Look at this rock.
I know.
Made columns out of it.
That's the only thing that's holding it up.
That is so friggin' cool.
I gotta go all the way down here and go out to the left. I think this may have been the same one Trucker Michael had.
Lost satellite reception.
Just keep right here.
No, I can't keep her. I gotta go out to the left.
You gotta go to the left?
Then
It's
I gotta
exit.
go back there. I know it's the exit. It's the pit. See? Big old pit.
Oh, wicked, wicked.
Turn on my one headlight.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't believe that up and went out. Well, now we know where they got all their rock outside from.
You know they got an excellent ventilation system down here.
Oh, you know they got to.
And you can't idle in air.
Lost satellite reception.
Yeah, I figured we would.
Cell phone, CDs, or nothing works down here.
Yeah, go figure.
Unless you talk to other trucks that are in here, and they bounce off the rock. The radio signals bounce off the rock. This is one of the ones I've been to before.
Yeah, you could actually set up a dead-gum whole community down here, couldn't you?
Yeah. Now I can see.
Crooked.
No, I think one of the bright lights are out now. Maybe.
This monster machine dwells in a world beneath our feet. It eats rock for a living, with steely teeth that can chew through nearly any surface on Earth. Its job? To do what was once impossible. Carve out passageways beneath cities, rivers, and even oceans. It's a tunnel boring machine, or TBM. But make no mistake, boring isn't what it is. It's what it does. Tunnels are some of man's most amazing engineering accomplishments. But to dig a tunnel is tough, dangerous work, which requires some monstrous tools. Like some super-sized drill, the tunnel boring machine carves subterranean pathways. The biggest of these technological termites stretches 150 feet long, 40 feet high, and weighs over 3,000 tons. This borer is only one part of a multi-unit device that, when fully coupled, looks like an underground train that stretches hundreds of feet. Turn this fella loose, and it can rip through 100 feet of rock in a day.
You're looking at something equivalent to maybe 6 or 8 railroad locomotives grouped together and then extending back for a couple of city blocks. It's really a lot of iron. If you think of an earthworm 30 or 40 feet in diameter, 300 or 400 feet long, obviously something you wouldn't want to meet in a dark alley, but the earthworm advances through the ground and creates an opening as it goes, and I think that's very similar to what a tunnel boring machine does.
This mammoth worm is armed with an arsenal of super sharp wheels mounted on a massive cutting face. As the face spins, these wheels take a bite out of old Mother Earth.
You've seen the small little wheel that's on a glass cutter. Essentially, what our machines have are a series of discs similar to that little wheel that are mounted in such a way that they roll in concentric circles onto the rock. Each of those little wheels on our machines are between 17 and 20 inches in diameter.
As the dirt disintegrates, it's caught by troughs in the face, and then pulled into the machine and dropped onto a conveyor that carries it through the body and to the surface. But the true scale of a tunnel borer is hard to see.
They're rarely seen as a complete machine. When they're in the tunnel, they're impossible to see all at one time, and the job they're doing is hidden because it's underground. You're inside a very large machine, so you really can't see what's going on very well because it's like seeing the whale from the inside. It's hard to visualize what the entire whale looks like when you're standing in the belly.
In the belly of this beast, men and machines toil to ensure that this new underworld doesn't come tumbling down around them. 18-ton concrete blocks are moved underground and transported through the tunnel by train. Then, a hydraulic lifter hoists the concrete slab snugly into place, just behind the advancing face. The slabs support the surrounding weight and maintain the tunnel's integrity.
The lining essentially is made up of maybe 6 to 8 pieces of concrete. The erector grabs a piece of this, puts it into the bottom of the tunnel, grabs another piece, puts it on the left side, grabs another piece on the right side until it builds the full ring.
The end result? A 40-foot-high concrete tunnel. back into rubble, the TBM burrows forward using 10 million pounds of earth-piercing pressure. To push that hard, the machine needs to get some serious grip, and using its giant hydraulic pads, the newly placed concrete provides the perfect perch to push off from. Forging forward 6 feet at a time, it loosens its grip, lines the tunnel with concrete blocks, regrips, and repeats. A spectacle of awesome power, performed with monstrous ease. Over 100 years ago, tunnel boring machines replaced dynamite as the best way to cut tunnels through the earth. One of the first was built by Colonel James Beaumont. In 1880, his pneumatic TBM bored over a mile near Dover, England, for a rail tunnel. In the 1950s, James Robbins used a newer version of a TBM to build a 15,000-foot sewer in Toronto, Canada. By the 1990s, the company he founded used 11 massive TBMs to dig the 31-mile-long tunnel under the English Channel, finally linking England and France. Opened in 1994 and nicknamed the Chunnel, it was an immense project that involved 15,000 workers and $15 billion.
There were several machines used for the English Channel. There were 6 different machines that went undersea. The smallest of the undersea machines were probably on the order of $20 million.
At that price, these metal worms are only used for tunnels at least a mile in length. But don't think these brutes go blindly about their business. A laser light guides the driver to keep the tunnel on course. In this world, mere millimeters matter.
It's almost like a computer game. They show a little picture of a mining machine and it'll be pointing like this or it'll be pointing like that, and in relation to an X where the axis is. Or it'll actually be a digital readout that says you 2 millimeters to the right or you 2 millimeters to the left. And you just keep nudging it back towards zero with your hydraulics.
Between the cutting face, the conveyor belts, the pumps and lining equipment, there are lots of places where a worker could end up as worm food.
Most frightening thing about a tunnel boring machine is being in front of it and hear somebody turn on a pump. That's the most frightening thing. Everything is so massive that you can't afford to make a mistake and move in the wrong direction at the wrong time. There's no second chance with most of the equipment. It is a crushing force. It's a very dangerous environment.
Risky business? Yes. But any worker will tell you, there's nothing like having a breakthrough.
There's some good holding through parties, and people are very happy, very cheerful, and there's a few bottles of champagne broken. It's really a celebration of a long job completed. So, you've seen the one in the channel where these 2 guys crawl through and they shake hands. Everybody wants that job.
Tunnel boring machines have enabled man to take on Mother Earth and tear subterranean pathways between cities and even countries. Will continents be next? If so, these will be the machines to do it. One bite at a time.
Economic disaster.
And the world's largest underground doomsday shelter is being built right now, just 2.5 hours from Des Moines in Kansas. Patrick Bell takes you there, new at 10.
3, 2, 1. Fire.
It's kind of like an underground fortress. Will withstand a 20 megaton blast from 5 miles away. It'll withstand nuclear, biological, chemical fallout. The blast doors alone are 2-foot thick steel, hardened steel, and concrete. They can withstand just about anything. You would have to be the U.S. military to break into here. And I don't think they want to break in. You know why? They just sold it to us.
If you want to survive the apocalypse,
where you're safe, you're protected from all the natural events and all the man-made events, be it a pandemic or be it anarchy or whatever.
then this
It's as big as the Empire State Building. It's just horizontal.
is where you want to be.
2.25 million square feet, all right? With 12-foot ceilings, some areas a little less. Underneath, 135 feet of limestone and shale and different rocks all the way to the surface.
Buried deep inside of a mountain in Atchison, Kansas,
This is the answer to my dreams, this shelter.
is the world's largest subterranean citadel. How far are we in now?
Well, we're on one edge, but we've come from the other side, so we've traveled about 3/4 of a mile.
Robert Facino is the founder and chief executive officer of Vivos, a corporation specializing in building extravagant and expensive shelters for clients worldwide.
It's all about, security, safety, survivability, but comfort as well.
But his latest project is the biggest yet. He and hundreds of workers are transforming an underground U.S. Army storage depot into a state-of-the-art secure sanctuary.
We're going to put 1,500 RVs, 5,000 people in here, and we still got space to probably put another 1,500.
Customers will pay $1,000 and $3 a month for each linear foot of their recreational vehicle. That and the cost of food and supplies will run a family of 6 around $30,000.
It's the one piece of real estate you'll own that you'll never, hopefully never have to use. But if you do, it's priceless.
But there's more, lots more.
Here's the golf course, paintball, archery, rifle range, gym, the kennel for pet cats and dogs, sports courts like basketball, tennis.
Plus theaters, hydroponic areas to grow food, and an on-site medical center with doctors, nurses, surgeons, even dentists.
What we've done uniquely here is this is not just a shelter. It's a year-round resort.
Which means you and your RV can come and go as you wish. You can even camp out on the mountaintop. But just beneath the adventurous facade lies a very serious purpose.
When the whatchamacallit hits the fan, and people that are sitting on the fence right now say, geez, what was the name of that company again, Vivos? And, we need to get a shelter. We got to move fast. We got 3 days.
Since the days of the Spanish, this area was vital to the defense of San Francisco, and you can see why. There's the Golden Gate Bridge, San Francisco Bay. These hills are laced with military infrastructure of every era. I'm meeting with Park Ranger John Porter, who's going to explain to me how San Francisco's defenses adapted to the nuclear age. John?
Hey, John.
How you doing? John was taking me to a former World War II defensive structure turned nuclear missile site. It's a piece of San Francisco's underground that could have sparked World War III, and almost did. So imagine, this whole place was basically ultra-tight, high security. You can now see in here if you're driving by, but this would have been guarded with attack dogs, military guards everywhere. You couldn't get in this place. The year was 1951. The Soviet Union and China entered a deadly arms race. The U.S. had to act fast, fortifying all its major cities, including San Francisco. Nike missile sites were the ultimate anti-aircraft defense systems. Their sole purpose was to identify incoming aircraft formations bearing nuclear weapons and obliterate them with nuclear warheads before they reached their target. And for 20 years, this secret site in San Francisco was ready to do just that. So what is all this here?
Well, this is the radars. There were 5 radars, and they were up on top of Wolf Ridge. And these are the battery control vans, the computers.
If Russian or Chinese planes were detected by radar, the computers would then guide the nuclear warheads 28 miles into the air, exploding the bombers and their deadly nuclear payload.
So this is where they ran the show. Yeah, there's the computers right there.
The technology may look primitive, but it was good enough to incinerate the world.
Once, God forbid, there was an attack, what happens in here?
Well, first thing they do is push this button, the siren button. Yeah. You'd be calling all your soldiers to your stations.
Wow.
That would be a terrifying moment.
Nike missile sites were America's answer to a growing threat. But perhaps an even greater threat was storing 10,000-pound nuclear missiles less than 10 miles from a major metropolis. One false move, and San Francisco, the state of California, and most of the western seaboard would be history. The nuclear arsenal that could have doomed mankind was kept safe in the underground.
Awesome. Damn, look at these things. What are they? These are the Nike missiles.
These are Nike Hercules missiles.
Shoo, they are lethal looking bastards, aren't they?
There are 12 individual missiles at this site, one of 12 sites that once ringed the Bay Area. At the height of the Cold War, there were 280 top-secret Nike missile sites buried throughout the U.S.
They're huge. So how fast is this thing going?
This is traveling at about 2,000 miles an hour. This one gets up to 3.65 times the speed of sound.
No kidding, like a jet fighter. I mean, faster than
Much faster than that, like a bullet. And this 6,500-pound white-hot lawn dart comes back to Earth unguided.
Really?
That's why they launch at that slight angle.
And over the ocean.
Anywhere but here.
This is the dangerous part up here, right?
This is the warhead. Where that red stripe is, right up to the fins, that's your warhead. This is a W-31 nuclear device inside here, and this is 40 kilotons.
40 kilotons. Compare that to Hiroshima or something like that.
Hiroshima was approximately 14 kilotons.
14. So this is 3 or 4 times more powerful than the A-bomb that we know. That's correct.
Once a target had been identified by radar and confirmed by a spotter plane, the missiles could be raised to the surface, locked on target, and launched. Anyone within a quarter-mile radius would be killed by sound waves alone. At 150 decibels, the force would literally push soft tissue into the bone. Its flight path would cover 28 miles in 30 seconds, speeding straight up, then rotating 180 degrees, plummeting downward, and detonating in the center of the incoming bomber formation.
So they're literally throwing a nuclear explosion up into the air.
A very large nuclear explosion.
Wow.
Minutes after the initial explosion, nuclear fallout, far worse than Hiroshima, would rain down on the city. Depending on weather patterns, up to 25% of the population could be dead of radiation poisoning within a few months. By the 1970s, these deadly weapons were outdated, replaced on both sides by intercontinental ballistic missiles that didn't rely on planes and pilots to guide them to their target. They could be launched from distances over 3,500 miles away. It cost millions of dollars to decommission the Nike missile sites nationwide. This is the only one perfectly preserved in a state of readiness. A testament to how precarious the Cold War really was.
You talked on our show, without giving away client information years ago, about former CIA, FBI building more inexpensive safe houses and bunkers under their houses. Or, you know, really rich people building bunkers at an accelerated rate. Now it's been in The Guardian that they're building bunkers all over the world. They're building them in the Ozarks. They're building secret airfields in New Zealand and building garrison guard shacks and are really scared, and most of the billionaires have left Israel. What is happening with this exodus of the elite and this hardening of elitist positions, and then Russia building giant underground bunkers, but we don't have those for the general public? What's going on that front, Joel Skousen?
Well, the answer to that is that the people in the know, insiders, if you will, I'm talking about ex-CIA, DEA, anybody who's involved in the dark side of government knows that a major war is coming, and it's going to be a nuclear war. They're not doing these bunkers because of terrorism. Your chances of really getting hurt from even, the false flag terrorism, which all the big events are, is really less than 0.5% or less. But your chances of being affected by this coming nuclear war with Russia and China are are assured everybody's going to be affected by it. And so
just look at the landscape around us and how remote this is. And then jutting out of the side of this Arctic mountain is the Svalbard Global Seed Vault. And we have all been very excited to actually get inside and see for ourselves how what's being done here plays a very vital role when it comes to trying to mitigate against the consequences of climate change. So this is it.
This is it. This is the vault. This is what is built for humanity to survive. This is the Svalbard Global Seed Vault. It's here since 2008, built by the government of Norway, and it's one of the most amazing things you're going to see in your life. Yep, they look funny, but they protect you against ice falling down in the vault.
It's that cold.
It's that cold. So that's about 150 meters down into the mountain. This is becoming the permafrost here in granite. They built this like they built the tunnels in the Alps with a big machine, a big excavator. Took about 2 years to build, and it's built to last for a very long time. This is meant to be your way out if the power fails, if there is no lights, so you find your way out of the vault. So the seed deposit works like with any bank and a safe deposit storage in the basement of the bank. You bring your own seeds. You, as a depositing institution, you own them and you keep them, and only you can determine what happens with them. This is the main door to the active vault, one of the 3 vaults that we have. It's all frozen up because inside it's -18 Celsius year-round. And this is typically the place everyone wants to have a picture taken. This is World Agriculture behind that door. Everything you're going to need for the world to survive in terms of agriculture is safely kept here for the future. We have 860,000 types of crops. Each probe has 100 to 1,000 corns. So if you look at the number of individual grains in here, it could be close to 1 billion.
My nose is going to fall off already.
You need to keep warm here with everything that you can. And when you go inside, it gets colder because of the draft of the AC. You could go back to Svalbard and recreate agriculture in the world, which I find an amazing concept.
In the event of a cataclysmic occurrence, this would stay and preserve these seeds for how long?
We have -18 Celsius in here. It would go up to -8, -7 after a few years. But then even at that temperature, most of the seeds can stay for many, many years, 10, 20, 30 years time. So you have a lot of time to think about what to do, even if power fails here and doesn't get restored. It's a safe place.
It is truly remarkable and such a unique experience. You know, the general population doesn't have access to this vault, and we're among the few who have actually been inside. And as Michael said, it really does make you pause and think about how what is being done here is really helping to safeguard our future.
Officials embarked on a $3.2 billion project to protect their biggest asset, the flow of cash into Las Vegas from the flow of water.
So now I can see the immensity of this project. I mean, not only are each of these boxes big enough to hold a huge amount of volume, but one after another, for further than I can possibly see down here.
The tunnel we're standing in is just a tiny part of a vast 450-mile network, with another 450 miles planned. The system has grown from one major tunnel to a sprawling web as the city's population exploded. These channels, made up of thousands of interlinked concrete boxes, send all of Vegas's rainwater rushing into 75 massive basins, with an average size of 52 football fields. The basins, in turn, slowly drain into Lake Mead.
How many of these tunnels would you find if you went around and looked for them?
Well, there's probably right now 500 of these tunnels around town, from anywhere from a couple hundred feet long to miles.
The tunnel we were walking in was built right in front of us. By the end of the day, around 15 sections would be in place. Each section of the tunnel weighs a staggering 50,000 pounds. But despite their huge size, they fit perfectly, snapping together in a tongue and groove pattern.
Chloe, bring that box in. This is hauling over one of these huge boxes, and in it comes over us, and we got to get out of the way, right? So this box is going to come over here, and then essentially it just drops right down in here and fills in this gap.
Arquare,
coming down.
As the crane drops the box in place, workers apply a sealant to keep the bond watertight.
Like magic, just sucking itself right in here.
Yep. They'll raise it up a little bit, and the dozer out here will push it in.
Crane down. So this is done. This is in place.
This section's done.
And that's how you build a tunnel under Las Vegas.
That's how we do it.
Hey.
Oh, hi, Don.
I met with Paul Mazza of the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission to see how the city is protecting its most valued resource from the next big one, or a terrorist attack.
So this is the Sunset Reservoir?
Yes, it is.
So how big is this place?
20 acres.
The $4 billion project will safeguard the water for 2.4 million people.
The entrance is up in front of us here, but we're not going to allow you to show the entrance. For security reasons, we like to keep a lot of this stuff off camera.
Sure, the drinking water of San Francisco.
The drinking water. We don't want to show access to the drinking water.
Okay, turn the cameras off.
It's cavernous. It's 10 acres. It's 4 city blocks square.
Really?
30 plus feet high.
No kidding. This will be filled with water.
Filled with water.
So the 1906 earthquake, you're still worried about this earthquake that might hit.
Yes, well, earthquakes don't just happen once, so we're anticipating up to a 7.9 earthquake in the next 30 years.
In order to withstand the fierce shaking of a 7.9 quake, the reservoir's 300 pillars are shored up by diagonal bracings and moment frames that hold up a roof over 4 city blocks long. If an earthquake strikes, the moment frames allow the pillars to move up and down, but not side to side, while each of the 19 different roof sections can move independently.
So this is the pipe that actually brings in the water?
Yes, it is.
How big is this pipe?
It's 54 inches in diameter.
And that can bring in how much water?
40, 50 million gallons a day.
For 2 years, this was a job site for 200 workers. But in just a few weeks, the only people coming down here will be scuba divers checking for cracks.
So this is the end point. My echo. Oh, at the other end of this pipe is eventually the Sierra Nevadas. We are some of the last people to be standing in this huge water tank before tens of millions of gallons of water pour right through here and fill this place back up. Isn't that right? Yes, it is.
That made this town, Las Vegas has always done things big, above ground and below. Located in the sun-baked Mojave Desert, Las Vegas means the meadows in Spanish. It was named for fields growing around its small natural springs. But today, a different kind of green defines this city. In Vegas, bigger is better. 15 of the 20 largest hotels in the world are here. And every year, gamblers lose $6 billion in their casinos. Hidden underneath the glitz and glamour of the Strip is a virtual fortress of underground vaults.
Oh yeah, here we go.
This is downstairs. I mean, the casino's over our heads here. We're going in to see the hard count room where the money is counted. All that take from the floor brought down in these shifts all day long into here. And now you get a sense of how many different barriers there are to get into this place.
This vault is almost never seen on television. It's known as the hard count room. Hard count refers to coins. Soft count is paper money, dollar bills. The money travels down from the casino's 2 upper floors in special service elevators with restricted key access. The number of access points and the exact thickness of the walls and ceiling are a closely guarded secret.
Now you're really at the heart of the matter. Oh, the nickels that were taken into the slot machine. So the coins went through the conveyor belt, fell into this hopper. What now?
We'll activate another switch, and the nickels, they'll feed up this conveyor, and they will only be allowed to drop into a machine